All right, so I'm just going to get started. People can come in and out and whatever. I'll make sure this slide deck and all that is available after the fact and all that. First off, a quick little note here. As you probably all know, Citrix is changing and ditching the Zen name. And so my hard-earned Zen Master title is soon to be, and I didn't want to go with Citrix Master. I thought that was just kind of like just too much.
No, the Master.
Yeah. So I'm actually in the process of kind of switching over to a new Twitter handle called the Citrix Coach, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. Today, what we want to talk about is what I'm calling the Dirty Dozen, or the 12 worst things I'm seeing out in the field with Citrix stuff. So what we're going to do is I'm going to tell a little bit more about myself. We'll discuss that, some things I want to do, and then also what I'm doing, which hopefully we have time for. So, really quick, just about me, and I'm actually going to, I know we're running about a half hour behind, and this is like a 3-hour presentation, so we'll do what we can. I began working with Citrix Technologies in about 2005, so I actually became a resident consultant with Citrix Technology, or Citrix Consulting, I should say, right around 2011. Stayed with that residency program until 2014, 2015, when I started becoming an ad hoc resource for them. So I still actually do work for Citrix today. Actually, I'm heading to South Carolina after this for a week with them. And I don't know why this thinks it's just going to go, so I'm just going to let it just do its thing. Had several job titles over the long. I'm sure a lot of you are in the same kind of boat where you might be a consulting architect today, you might be a director of technology tomorrow, you might be a principal solutions architect or whatever. So these are the titles that I've had along the way, but yeah. Basically, in a nutshell, I moved from Fort Collins, Colorado to Nashville, so now I'm a co-leader. I don't know why that is doing what it's doing, but anyway, we'll just keep it going. I'm a CTA and CGC leader, along with Patrick in Nashville. So a couple of quick disclaimers. The data I'm going to talk about is not really a comprehensive list by any stretch. It's just stuff that I've been seeing not only from Citrix Consulting, but also from my own stuff that I've been doing. I'm weighting this list, and so it's not in a specific order of any kind, but due to some polls and things I've done, I've found that usually what people are after as far as what the real answer is, I know we all say security is top of mind, but that's basically BS. What people really want to see, or what the typical CIO wants to see, is how much is it going to cost to deploy or keep going. Those are the things that matter the most, but honestly, security always comes up because in a crisis, now that works. And then, of course, user satisfaction and experience is in there somewhere. We think we care about it at some point. But I'm not going to do this in any particular order. The issues and details that you're going to see are largely from about 10 clients that I've been working with over the past year. There are a total of 335 recommendations that I've parsed for this, which is a lot. But that's the kind of things that I deal with when I do a health check assessment with a customer. I'm usually averaging between 30 and 50 recommendations that I'm handing them, which I probably just hate myself, I guess. So anyway, for this, I do reserve the right to cheat and kind of group a lot of these recommendations together because a lot of them are just too important not to include. So with that, I'm going to get right into this and talk about the dirty truth. And here's, to illustrate the point, here's 12 pictures of Mike Rowe, because why not? First off, user environment misses. Now this is basically when we have things in the user environment or the VDI environment or whatever it's going to be that totally miss the mark as far as what the users actually need to be successful. First off, profile management. We've been talking a little bit about this whole time about different strategies to do it, but the bottom line is what I'm seeing out there in the field is that people still aren't doing this right. Either they have the profile is just configured with just the defaults out of the box, they haven't considered what needs to be there, or, say it with me, active write back bad Streaming, good. The other thing I'm seeing out there is loopback policies done wrong. I mean, obviously, you know, do policy pack. It's obviously going to fix all this crap, right? But I'm still seeing lots of processing nightmares out there because there's just badly done group policy where you'll have something in the user policy that's suddenly applying to your Citrix environment. Your Citrix environment breaks because of it. People are pissed off. Nobody knows where these things are coming from. What the heck? So that would be a merge bad, replace good kind of a scenario right there. So the other thing I'm seeing a lot of is when you're setting system registry things with these, sorry about that. This is really sensitive, I guess. Yeah. Let's say you're on RDSH and you have something in your policy that is setting system registry settings. Well, I've been seeing a surprising amount of these policies that are doing this at every single login. And so users will be in a program and it'll lock up because there's some registry setting trying to be applied because it was in their user OU. And login scripts, it's 2018. There's children in the room, so I'm going to be careful with my words here. But seriously, it's 2018. What the heck are we doing running logon scripts? Receiver clients not being updated. I'm amazed to see how many people are not really taking control of this in their environments and keeping receiver up to date. Now for a bonus here, real-time client not being installed on the endpoint like they expect to be able to run Skype for Business. So if you don't have that client installed on your endpoint, spoiler alert, it's not going to work. It's going to fail back to the original behavior and life is going to suck for you. So that's going to increase, especially now we're starting to talk about increasing or putting this with Teams and things like that as well. So it's something that's just been missed out there that we need to keep an eye on as people that are smarter than the average bear. So next, and if this is a list, I guess it would be number 2. SSL virtual servers. This may not be a total cost of ownership thing, but this is too big of a security miss and happening too often not to mention. You can go to sslabs.com right now and test any virtual server that's out there. As long as it's publicly accessible, you can test it, get a score. How many have done this before? A handful, okay.
Download the executable too.
Yeah, so there's a lot you can do to test your actual SSL gateways, but the big ones are the ones that are actually publicly accessible. The main reason this works well is because it runs through a huge amount of scenarios and can actually give you a report that is up to date and subjective. In other words, it's not like a static score. It is a roaming scale from F to A+, and you always want an A+, right? And so 8 of 10 of the sites that I was visiting over this last 6 months actually had a C or below. But the A+ is obviously possible. This is a screenshot from a customer where we got to A+, so I promise that it's possible. Primarily, the issues that I'm noticing are that SSL3 is still in use out there. People aren't disabling it on their, especially on their NetScalers, if they just deploy that. They're not disabling SSL3 like they should be. Still using TLS1, or they don't even have TLS 1.2 active at all. This is things I'm seeing out there. Not using good ciphers in the first place. There's been a compromise for a long time now with some of the older RSA keys. Get rid of them. You don't need them anymore. HSTS not being enabled, perfect forward secrecy, all these things are things that help your security overall, and I'm just not seeing it done out there because it's not default.
This is an interesting comment you appreciate. Like the first slide, I'm like, yep. This slide, you get better response from because you can give them a report card.
Yeah.
You can go like, you're failing, you get a D, and they respond well. The first one, they're like, profiles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, certificate solution, usually control solution.
What's that? Sorry, you had to say again.
Intermediaries usually are the ones that everything else sure, but intermediaries, when people have local certs already, when they test the system themselves, they see everything is great. But in reality, the certificate is not incorporated, and then you go wrong. So that's usually the number 1 thing that we're seeing.
Yeah. So I've been seeing some Fs out there, unfortunately, and we're about to see a lot more of these, by the way. A lot of these surveyed sites actually had vulnerable firmware. How many people knew that there was a problem that came up with NetScalers right around October? It's a major flaw. Wow, this not nearly many hands going up. I should make sure we have a link to get to that. But if you have that older firmware, as of I think last month, you will now have an F score at SSL Labs because it's that big of a deal, and it can be pretty rapidly detected. There's a lot of other practices that kind of go along with this same vulnerability that have to do with, well, all right. I can't believe this, but 3 of the sites that I went to still had the old NetScaler NSRoot password as NSRoot. It was unbelievable, but it's actually happening out there. But there's other things you probably need to do as well as far as securing this, making ACLs so only certain IPs can get to your management interface, securing the management interface, making sure that only one IP is a management interface. These are not done out of the box. You have to actually do these things. If you want to write down a note right now, this is one of the oldest articles that is still relevant with in terms of NetScaler, because it has a lot of these leading practices that are really good to do. Whether they apply to security or not, they're actually really key. Dropping invalid HTTPS or HTTP responses. Selective acknowledgement is a good thing. I call Nagel's algorithm Nagel's happy fun time algorithm. Mostly because if you're running at scale at all, Nagel's can be extremely helpful to you. Another thing that's also really helpful is enabling fast ramp. There's a lot of these things that are not done out of the box with NetScaler because they need to maintain compatibility. And so you need to go through and actually do these things if you're running a NetScaler to make sure you're not only secure, but you're actually following leading practices. Leaving money on the table or unused features. Profile management. Seriously, how am I still finding places that are running Citrix technology that are not using profile management? It's there, it's free, it's been there for like what, almost 10 years now? Come on. Workspace environment manager. Most of the customers that I'm seeing are enterprise and above. They have access to this. Why they're not using it, I don't know. Even with the basic out-of-the-box stuff with just a few defaults with Workspace Environment Manager, you can get a much better experience for users. App layering, I can excuse a bit because it's yeah. I wasn't going to say that exactly, but
you had me until that.
It's
you had me until that.
Yeah, it's
I see no value.
yeah. Let's just say I'm not seeing a lot of it out there. I don't anticipate a lot more of it. I have seen other solutions, FSLogic, work way better. Yeah, no big deal, right? Yeah, just for a lot of reasons. It's not going away anytime as far as Citrix is concerned, but if you're not going to buy anything else, at least do the Unidesk solution. Yeah, it's better than nothing.
How so? Someone please explain.
We'll get to that in a second, actually. NetScaler Moz, it's again, there's a lot of enablement out there on the table for this that I'm seeing that is not used at all. Federated authentication services is another one that I'm seeing a lot not being used. Director, people not using Director? Seriously? It's right there. It's just make your help desk have access to it. It's simple. PVS, a lot of other platinum features. I mean, there's a whole list of things, and I'm amazed how many times I'm not seeing any of these in use, even though they paid for platinum. In other words, if you paid for platinum, you have things that are not available in enterprise. You might as well just have enterprise. It's ridiculous. There's a couple of these that are actually pretty huge. Yo.
So PBS, I would say quite a few people dropped out. Like I would agree with most of your list, with a few exceptions. PBS, I would definitely remove from the list.
Nope.
Just go back in 1 second.
Oh.
I
don't know what's going on with this thing. It's got a mind of its own.
You're saying they're not provisioning. right?
It depends on the size of the deployment. obviously.
Absolutely.
If you have larger customers, the reason sometimes they don't go to the cloud, right? You not entice them to go to the cloud because of PVS. Mass actually use quite a bit. Uplayering is a mixed bag, depends kind of on the school of thought, but PVS definitely should not be.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you there wholeheartedly, but that's okay. This is about what I'm observing out in the marketplace. These are just a specific group of recommendations.
They're not using the provisioning tool, like it could be MCS.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it could be. A lot of times, if it's working, great. But in a lot of these environments, I'm seeing that MCS is not necessarily a good fit for it. So that's just, like I said, it's what I'm seeing. And I can get into PVS at another time, guys. We've got like virtually no time to get through it all. So see me afterwards, and I can tell you all about why. But if you're deploying this, why would you buy it if you're not using the features, is the basic thing. Same thing with tools. I'm amazed how often I see like somebody has a NetScaler SDX and has like NetScaler Gateway on there. That's it. Why do you have an SDX? But that's, utilize that for other things. It's there, it's possible, use it. Monitoring tools not used proactively. In other words, they have it for when somebody calls the help desk and they can look at it, but they're not really using it proactively. Huge mistake, right? You always want to be ahead of the calls. Load balancing. How am I walking into environments that are supposedly enterprise and don't have load balancing enabled for key features? That blows my mind, especially when they have NetScalers or F5s or whatever.
Yeah, because you're just living my life here. Is they go out and buy load balancers.
Oh, yeah, I didn't want to go there. I usually don't. Usually because the teams that I work with usually are at odds with the network team. But I'm talking, why is it doing this? It's driving me nuts. When you have NetScalers in place and you need load balancing for the Citrix solution and you're not using it, that's what kind of drives me crazy. This is my personal favorite. I ran across a customer that had VxRail deployed just for their PVS servers. I'm not kidding. Only for PVS.
The salespeople like that.
Oh, salespeople would love it. Same with the SDX, right? But yeah.
Well, yeah.
Get past the FUD.
The first one and the last one from different walks of life. Sure, it's using the storage for PVS like this. It's ridiculous, but I give you tons of reasons to use SDX versus VPNs.
Oh, I
You
have.
don't have any money? Sure, you don't
Yeah.
have an option to drive the car, right? But
Right.
You're saying all they do is put an access gateway on it.
Yeah, I'm saying that if you're not using it, why did you buy it?
VPX
Yeah.
depends on the type of device. How many times VMware was patched and VPX was completely screwed up? With SDX, you don't have this. You
Yeah.
have control.
Yeah, I get it. But it's just not used is what I'm saying. The other thing that I'm seeing a lot of out there, and I do mean a lot, is just Sprawl. So my new favorite for 2018 is storefront servers. I don't know how this is happening, but in a bunch of the places I've been going lately, I've been seeing storefront servers that are just expanding and expanding and expanding. This one I went to recently, 20 storefront servers. 20. One farm. Same apps for all the people. 20 storefront servers. Why?
That must be 20 stores, right?
Yeah, because they had different URLs and they couldn't figure out how to do it. By the way, this is the same customer that had the SDX and was only using it for Access Gateway, right? Or the NetScaler Gateway. But these are the kind of things that we're seeing out here. The big thing with Sprawl is the VDA images that are just impossible to manage. What I'm starting to see out there is like you have 2 staff maintaining this and everything else, but you have 30 images. This is the kind of things where,
Christy, Kevin over here.
yeah, get yourself a solution, be that force multiplier. Yeah.
How much is the environment with the images?
What's that?
If you look 20 images, it's actually not the bad in the middle. People with 80 images with huge environments, even for them it's a lot. But 50 images for large environment, even with 2 people managing them with PBS, that's not a big deal. Absolutely not a big deal.
It shouldn't be.
Just define it.
It shouldn't be, unless they have other roles, if they're doing everything else in the environment and Citrix.
I
So
don't
that's
think
the problem.
I think it should be single digit with the technology we have. There's no reason. There's a special, there's one-offs, but this just sounds like the team did.
Yeah, this is just, well, yeah, just inequipped is what I'm getting at, is that they're not really able to do it. They don't have the ability to maintain that. The other one that I'm starting to see that I think is going to probably become a big deal is just straight up layer sprawl. And this is probably from using the wrong thing. This is probably if you're using the wrong type of solution for layering and you're not sure how to do it properly, you end up with just as many problems with your layers being maintained as your images, and so you might as well just not do it. So that's the thing I'm starting to see emerging, and I think we'll see that as a trend. So we're halfway there, guys. Halfway there. So name the tune. Lemon on a pear. Yeah. Wrong audience. Wrong audience. It's all right. So we could say image management issues, but I wanted to be specific. These are the ones I'm seeing specifically with PBS and MCS when you're maintaining images. First off, PBS memory is more important than people give it credit for. If you are not adequately having enough memory to cache PBS, you're pretty much leaving potential performance on the table and making it come back to disk. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. The black lines here is a metric we call cache misses, or sorry, cache hits per second, or percentage. So if this black line here is ever below 80, you're reading from disk instead of from memory.
Are you talking memory on the PBS server or memory on the VDAs?
Specifically on the server itself, on the PBS server. Because what it's doing, just behind the scenes, is it's actually anything that it's been requested, it's reading from disk and keeping in RAM. And so if it wants that data again, it's going to serve it from RAM as much as it can. So if you don't have enough memory there, it's always going to be coming back to the disk to get it. So if you have too many VDisks, and that was the case for this customer. Yeah, they had. Actually, this was not the one with 30 images, but it's one of those things where you just have way too much data being read and not enough RAM to do it. And so there's ways to prevent that, or obviously to tell how much RAM you need, but I don't want to get into that specifically. Now, somebody mentioned the target device itself, the misconfiguration that I'm seeing out there of write cache. There's no absolute best answer for this, but the worst answer is out of the box, or just giving it like 12 gigs of RAM for device cache. I'm about to throw this thing out the window, I swear.
See, Brian's stood on the other side of the room and it doesn't work at all.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yes. I mentioned image sprawl before. I'll say this again with PBS. Surprisingly, I've been seeing a lot of images that are actually the same that are just split up in different VDisks because the admins didn't realize they have the same image twice. Or actually my favorite one was they didn't realize that they could use the same VDisk for multiple different delivery groups, which you can. Combined MCS and PBS, but the staff didn't know how to maintain either one. So in this particular case was actually right up the road here. They had machine creation services for some of their servers, PBS for their VDI, and then about 300 manually maintained VMs, manually maintained VMs. But they had the other technology sitting right here to deal with it, but they were still maintaining it because they didn't know how to do
At what point does
either
it
one.
become more of a management / personnel issue versus?
It's absolutely a personnel issue. But in this is a perfect case, right? Whenever they would spend somebody to training.
It's not a matter of fixing whether it's MTS or PBS. It's a matter of fixing to hiring the right people.
Well, that too.
John, the takeaway from this is not everybody's Joe. When you go in there, you might not even know to look for this because no one should be making that mistake. But now you know, and you would check on it, and you'd fix it and be the hero.
Right. This is basically just things you can look at, and for most of us in here, these are things we can just look for and look at. In this particular one, they had an interesting story where anytime they'd send somebody to training, they'd come back from training and then go get another job.
We got more bullets on this one, or you moving to another story?
Oh, yeah.
Before you
One
move,
more.
before you move, yeah, just, okay.
I think there's another point, yeah. This is actually probably not a huge one, but it certainly can be. When you don't have good procedures to actually seal your images before you actually deploy them. My favorite case with this one was actually where there were 32 gigs worth of data that were just sitting there that a quick cleanup just eliminated, and all of a sudden they weren't getting blue screens anymore. But their image was so badly sealed that that was just happening every time they'd make an update. What was your...
Yeah, so again, if you have more bullets, but if I would add to your list, so two things. Disk fragmentation behind PBS, that's a block level storage, right? So when you need to know that, you're getting paint together with it. So the fragmentation, especially with versioning, is a big deal, right? The second element, overuse of RAM cache overflow. Now, many people buy a bunch of RAM for VMs, right?
Yep.
And look, RAID controllers have, let's say, 2-4 gigs of cache, and everybody's paranoid that they have a battery, or they lose, 2 gigs or 4 gigs of data. Imagine losing 200 gigs of non-committed data.
Yeah.
Right?
So to add on to that, the thing is with this, with write cache, with failover to hard disk, if you're using that, then fragmentation is actually really critical because of the way that all works together. It's block based, and so if you have fragmented blocks, you're going to actually end up using upwards of 3 to 4 times as much RAM if you don't have it defragmented. So that should absolutely be part of your sealing procedure, is to defragment, check for antivirus. There's a lot of things here, but basically,
Now there's a not well-known way to actually deal with fragmentation without defragmenting disks, is to, because usually those disks are thinly provisioned, right? So you can actually allocate 120 gigs thinly provisioned disk, and NTFS will take care of fragmentation. So you don't need to actually fragment those disks as long as they're consolidated from
there's a lot of, actually, there's even some cool tools that I can actually show you as well with that. But
defrag and compact it.
Yeah, and again, these are just major things I'm seeing out there. I had a list, like I said, my full list, over 300. So I didn't want to go through every little detail, but there's a lot there. This is other grouping, internal data security, like it's 1999. No antivirus, I'm seeing it out there a lot still. Or antivirus is not configured properly at all, where you don't have the right exceptions, so it just runs like molasses, especially on VDAs that are not persistent. This is actually really critical. Brought this up yesterday, actually. XML and storefront being plain text, HTTP. You're logging in over this. You need to have this secured from end to end. It doesn't matter if you have a secure F5 or NetScaler in front of it all. If you're not secure within the data center, you're at risk.
Make sure you remember director. And
director, anything that's using to log in, there's no reason these days not to. It's very easy. The other thing that's been bothering me lately is I don't know why we don't see more internal gateways. In other words, why aren't we treating everything as a border device? Why do PCs have direct access to everything in our data center? It amazes me that we're still seeing this.
Just a quick comment, because I have the same frustration.
Yeah.
Half the time they accept their recommendations, but it's old school. It's like, it's our land. It's the inside. We're like, no, it's not. The endpoint is the outside.
Yeah. Trust the user, don't trust the device.
Right.
Yeah. And so there's no verification, those kind of things. And Citrix is doing some things about this, but it won't matter if you don't actually use the tools. If you don't have like an internal gateway, you're not going to get a lot out of this. So the question I've been asking myself this year a lot is, okay, seriously, what year is it actually? Server and desktop optimization, seriously, we've had tons and tons of data out there, tools and everything like that. Since 2010, we've had the ability to just run scripts or do it with, even with group policy and all these different things. How are we still running across people that are just not doing any optimizations and think that Microsoft is going to work out of the box? Microsoft doesn't work out of the box. The other thing is just completely poorly sized environments. So the reality is, if I started, like, see my laptop here, it's a nice beefy mobile workstation, but I'm the only one using it, so it works really well. So if I tried to stack 50 of you onto this thing, it wouldn't work very well. Well, that's exactly what we're trying to do with our servers, is completely stack too many users onto each one and not considering that. There's really easy rules how to define that, but we're just not looking at it. Same thing with actual VMs themselves. Actually, this came up yesterday, how just a quick little tweak to align your VMs themselves with NUMA on your actual physical cores works a lot better to get better user density out of these. So these are easy to do, and there's been recommendations out there for years. It's just somehow they're just being missed in the environments that I'm seeing. So resource and control workloads being on the same host. This is another big one I'm seeing. Go ahead.
So what is the rule of 5 and 10?
Oh, sorry. So the rule in 5 and 10 is basically if you have a physical host, and this is pretty much irregardless of the delivery technology, but a properly optimized operating system on a single host, you can usually get about 5 VDI users per physical core or 10 RDSH users per physical core. So that's easy math, right? So if you have physical cores, we don't care about virtual, we care about physical. So that's just a general rule of that, you know, because it's just, you can try and figure out the exact, if you have login DSI and you want to get into details about what it is, but start with that and then go into the detail later. The control and resource workloads on the same hosts, this is more true of the mid to larger environments that actually is a bigger concern with this. Sometimes it's just not really possible to separate the workloads. But the reality is, if you are having to scale an environment, you're never going to get predictable results if you're just spreading your workloads out there and just it's the wild, right? You're never going to really truly know what you're getting. Your user's going to have kind of a randomized experience based on what they happen to log into. Great example of this, thank you, was a client that was actually, they had people logging into a server, realizing that they were on the slow one, logging off, waiting a little bit, getting back on, just so they could get onto one of the faster servers. And what was going on is they had a SQL server on that same physical host that was so heavily running that it was causing any Synapse server on that to be slow. Scheduled AV scanning of PBS and machine creation services workloads that are scheduled. Come on, it's a non-persistent workload. You don't need to be scanning that. It's just, you do it when you seal it, and that's it, right? Printers on desks. How am I seeing an expansion of printers being on people's desks again? It boggles my mind. I thought we were going to be like paperless or whatever. But I'm seeing more printers on desks in the last 2 years than I have in the last 10. I don't know why, but it's just something that I guess people are just giving up. So it's a concern out there. People still think graphics cards go in PCs. Graphics cards go in servers, folks. This is 2018. It's time to move ahead and actually realize that the graphics we expect, all these pretty graphics that I have up on the screen and it actually works properly, it's all using a graphics card to do it. So we're expecting that kind of experience. We need to be doing that in our servers. Now this is my personal favorite because I haven't been checking for this in several years until this year, is BIOS settings not being set correctly. I can't believe this is happening, but 3 times this year I have found massive performance problems that were fixed simply by using the right BIOS settings, disabling C states, making it high performance settings, easy things to do that should have been done out of the box.
I don't think in the last year we've gone anywhere where they had set it correct.
Oh my gosh.
It's unbelievable. It's like a lost piece of information. No one's
Yeah, you're literally leaving between 20 to 40% of performance on the table if you have those settings enabled and you're running either VMware or any virtualization solution really. So, something to check. Time to party like it's 2008, or Nearly 60% of workloads that I observed in the last 6 months were on either 2008 R2 or Windows 7. Amazingly. I think it's the same thing it's always been. It's just applications and slow to move forward, and there's not enough time to move forward and things like that. Yeah, that's just what I'm seeing here, folks. So it's something to be aware of. I know that the trend is going downward, which is good, but I'm still seeing a lot of these in the problem environments that I should preface that. Usually when I'm called into an environment, something's not right. So if I'm doing a health check, it's because they have doubts. 5 of these environments still had XenApp 6.5, 6, or even XenApp 5, or as I like to call it, Presentation Server 4.5, Feature Pack 5. 3 environments still had 2003 servers and a 2000 functional level. Honestly, what year is it? I'm still finding, okay, SMB servers for files and profiles on SMB 1.0. And people wonder why they can't log in, or they're sitting there stuck in a login prompt for literally 5 minutes. It's something you need to check for if you're not doing it already. If you're not in control of this environment, you don't make any assumptions. It's basically what I'm getting at here. So this goes for SMB 2.0 as well, or 2.1. There's still things that need to happen. If you're not on 3.0 or above, you need to check it. This is probably something that I felt was, as far as getting value out of a solution, I'm still not seeing a lot of these particular workloads where they have the right mode policies or legacy mode and whatnot in their, and this is specific to Citrix now, in the HDX policies, not having those modes configured. So it's something to look into a lot of those times where they just weren't getting the performance needed, got the right settings, boom, everything was great. Quick fun fact for you, Citrix is actually only maintaining 4 versions right now as far as XenApp Zen Desktop. You have 7.6 LTSR, 7.15 LTSR, 7.17, and 7.18. Everything else is either end of life or end of maintenance right now. Wake up call. Moving on to design flaws.
That looks familiar.
Relevant, right? Good helping. If you're designing an environment for virtualization, the expectation is that there's going to be a lot of money spent on it. And so if you're just going to do if you're just going to engineer the solution, you're probably going to fail if you haven't really taken the time to actually see what the users actually need. And this is actually becoming a really big problem because what's happening is, unbelievably, I'm seeing a lot of this, where an admin will just say, I just like Chrome better than IE. So I'm just going to throw Chrome on the environment. I don't know how to do it. I'm just going to install Chrome. And this has been causing some major issues that are worse as of this week, actually, with the latest update to Chrome. This is a big problem. I've got something up on the website about it if you want more detail, but it's a big, big
I
problem.
just got here because you're like my long lost brother. we have more customers refuse to
Yeah.
let us look at end users than allow us.
Honestly.
We put hard pushback.
Yep.
Where they get pissed.
Yep.
And refuse. And we've had to even do it against their will.
Yep.
To find out what they use.
Yeah, and there's lots of politics behind that, or it's a problem. It really is. If you don't examine these use cases, you don't really give it a shot. It's going to be a problem. Or if you just do whatever the SE told me to, or because I just read a website that had this deployment guide or whatever, and I just did it. We took OST files. I put this in there, and I realized that we can take care of this with solutions like FS Logic, so just do that.
So, you'll enjoy this. I walked into somebody the other day, and they had redirected folders configured for pretty much all possible redirected folders.
You want to click all of them when you're doing it, right?
Yeah, guess where they redirected them to?
Home drive.
Their profile.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is officially an unsupported solution, but hey, for some reason I let you do it. Yeah. So the number one thing that I had to write this, that I've had to write for several years here. It is this statement right here. The team managing Citrix lacks confidence administrating the solution. This is the number one thing that I have had to write, even though sometimes I didn't want to. This is something that I've been, whenever I'm representing Citrix, I pretty much had to say, because it's usually true. The team just doesn't have the confidence to maintain this complex, awesome solution. The other problem here is that they'll be sent to training, and it just doesn't stick. In 6 months, they've already forgotten what they've learned, right?
This is like the whole PBS argument
Yeah.
versus MTS. And so we've gone from PBS to MTS because 3 times around, it's still not getting how to do PBS.
Yes. So, yeah. Knowledge being reactive is another one that I have to say as far as this goes. When all your knowledge consists of Google, it means you don't know why something's happening, you just know what's happening, or you need to figure out what to do about it. That's reactive knowledge. No career path. This is another big problem in our industry, specifically in virtualization, because a lot of these roles are becoming very mixed with some of the DevOps and whatnot, and so this is a real problem. We mentioned this yesterday. People hate Citrix or hate VMware because they had one experience in the past and it's jaded them forever. They don't know why, they just had a bad experience. A couple of things here, and I'm going to get you this list. Actually, if you want to just take a screenshot of it, I'll get you these slides as well. There's a lot of stuff here, and I just want to wrap this up, so I'm going to do this rapidly. So get your pictures in, or I'll send this to you. Document it. Donate to Carl. You know, do it. It's worth it. Get through these free tools. If you go to the supportability pack, not only does the Citrix optimizer out there, there's a VMware optimizer that's free. There is uploading things to CIS at Citrix. They'll do analysis and tell you what's going on in your environment, make sure it's okay. It's all free, folks. Big thing here is emulate before you innovate. In other words, I'm seeing a lot of people out there trying to make all these complex things work, but they're not getting the basics. Get the basics first, then innovate. I want to tell you really quick about what I'm doing, because I'm just some dude up here, right? So there's a couple different areas that I'm focusing in on, just because I'm hearing all these things and I want to try and move forward with it. So I'm going to be offering coaching, consulting, courses, content, and community. So they're all C's, it all works, right? And so I've been launching a couple different sites you can follow me on to get to these different solutions. CitrixCoach.com, if you have somebody that is just needing some career coaching within Citrix, whatever, and they just need an accountability boost, it's a good set for that. I don't just do Citrix consulting services, I actually do my own consulting. Talk to me about that, or grab a card from me. But the big thing is, right now I'm launching a members-only site. This is a kind of a labor of love for me right now, but if you guys go to this URL, and we'll make sure to send this to you, I have a beta that's opening up soon, but I have some early access. In fact, a few of you are actually in this already. I really want your feedback. I really want to get this to you. So there's a feedback, or a form here. Enter all the information, but right here where it says entry code, just say E2EVC. That way I can tag you for any discounts later on down the road or anything else like that. What I also want to send you is, this is going to become a kind of a worst practices guide and a subscription. I want to make sure to send you guys kind of what's going on and what to do about it. I want to make that available to all of you. It'll be a paid for thing for the rest of the masses, but for you guys, I want to show you some love. So that's pretty much what I have. I don't know if we have really time for any questions. I want to get on with things, but these are how to get in touch with me. I'll have some cards out for you guys as well. Yeah.